moment Beyond the Gates turned the plasma storyline into a full-scale hostage nightmare, I realized this show is no longer playing around. And honestly, Monday's episode looks less like a soap opera and more like a psychological pressure cooker waiting to explode. Because this is not just about stolen plasma anymore. It's about fear, control, desperation, and the terrifying moment when every character realizes they may already be too deep to get out alive. What makes this upcoming episode so fascinating is that the chaos doesn't feel random. Every single storyline is colliding at the exact worst time possible. The gala, the warehouse, Jacob's operation, Grayson's panic, Leah's manipulation, Ren's violence. It all feels engineered for disaster, and that's why viewers won't be able to look away. Let's start with the biggest problem in the room, Leah. Leah has quietly become one of the most dangerous people in this entire storyline, and not because she's physically intimidating. What makes her terrifying is how calmly she manipulates everyone around her. She doesn't scream. She doesn't lose control. She applies pressure. That's worse. The way she cornered Grayson says everything about her psychology. She didn't just give him a mission. She weaponized fear. She reminded him that if he failed, Ren would punish him. That detail matters because Leah understands something crucial. People become easier to control when they believe someone even more dangerous is waiting behind the curtain. And Grayson, he's cracking. You can feel it. What I find brilliant about this storyline is that Grayson doesn't actually look like a hardened criminal. He looks like someone trying to survive a machine that's already consuming him. That makes his scenes far more tense because you never know if he's about to succeed, collapse emotionally, or completely self-destruct. The plasma theft operation itself is also smarter than it first appears. At first glance, you might think, why would Derek assign Grayson to the research room if he's suspicious of him? But that's exactly the point. Derek's instincts are already activated. He doesn't trust Grayson, but he also doesn't yet have enough proof to act openly. So instead of confronting him directly, Derek watches, tests, observes. That creates a cat and mouse dynamic that makes every scene feel unstable. And then Ava accidentally helps Grayson complete the theft. That moment is important because it highlights one of the show's recurring themes: innocent people unknowingly feeding corrupt systems. Eva has no idea she's helping a criminal operation. But her involvement proves how easily manipulation spreads through ordinary interactions. Honestly, that's what makes the plasma storyline more disturbing than a typical crime subplot. Nobody fully understands the entire machine. Everyone only sees fragments, and fragments are dangerous. But the real turning point comes at the warehouse. This is where the storyline transforms from covert crime drama into outright terror. Jacob's arrival changes everything because it destroys the illusion of control. Until that moment, Ren and Leah believed they were managing the situation. The second Jacob appears, paranoia takes over instantly. And Ren's reaction tells us exactly who he really is. The knife to Derek's throat was not just intimidation. It was escalation. A calculated escalation. Ren immediately understood that once Derek witnessed the operation, the rules changed. Suddenly, survival became more important than secrecy. That's why the hostage situation feels believable. Criminal organizations in panic mode become unpredictable because fear overrides planning. What makes the scene even more compelling is Jacob's response. Jacob backing down to save Derek is not weakness. It's humanity. And I think that distinction matters. A lot of viewers may get frustrated and ask, why would Jacob give in? But realistically, what choice did he have? This is where Beyond the Gates becomes smarter than many soap operas. The show understands that heroism is messy. Real people don't make perfect tactical decisions when someone's throat is inches away from a blade. Jacob choosing Derek's life over immediate victory makes emotional and logical sense. At the same time, the show cleverly hints that Jacob and Derek may still outmaneuver them through nonverbal coordination. That small signal Jacob gives Derek, tiny moment, huge storytelling value because it shows trust under pressure. And trust is becoming one of the central themes of this entire arc. Who trusts whom? Who deserves trust? And who weaponizes it? Ashley's scenes add another layer to this tension that I think many viewers may underestimate. Her fear about Grayson is not just emotional panic. It's intuition. Ashley recognizes something deeply unsettling. Grayson is mentally preparing for catastrophe. That line is chilling because it suggests Grayson may already believe there's no peaceful ending left. And honestly, Ashley may be the first character truly seeing the psychological damage happening in real time. Naomi's reaction is also interesting because she connects Ashley's fear to Jacob's mission. Both women are essentially trapped in emotional limbo, waiting for men they care about to survive increasingly dangerous situations. But here's the twist most people are missing. The women in this storyline may actually understand the stakes better than the men do. Jacob is focused on completing the mission. Grayson is focused on survival. Ren is focused on control. Meanwhile, Ashley and Naomi are focused on consequences. That difference matters because consequences are finally arriving. And then there's the gala. The gala storyline is genius precisely because it feels so disconnected at first. Samantha scrambling after Donnell's disappearance almost seems like harmless social drama compared to hostage situations and plasma theft. But that contrast is intentional. The gala represents normalcy, image, public appearance, elegance. The warehouse represents the truth hiding underneath. And when those two worlds collide, disaster. Tyrell potentially stepping in for Donnell may seem like a small detail, but soap operas love symbolic substitutions. Someone disappears. Someone else fills the space. The surface remains polished while chaos grows underneath. That's basically the entire theme of Beyond the Gates right now. Everyone is performing stability while their world quietly burns. What really elevates this upcoming episode is the possibility that the criminals may target the gala itself. And if that happens, the show crosses a major line narratively. Because now innocent civilians enter the equation. That changes everything. If Ren and Leah become desperate enough to use gala attendees as hostages, then this storyline is no longer about protecting a criminal business. It becomes about total survival panic. And panic creates mistakes. Big mistakes. Personally, I think Ren is the ticking time bomb here. Leah is strategic. Grayson is unstable. Jacob is pressured. But Ren is volatile. There's a huge difference. Volatile characters are dangerous because they destroy plans the second emotions spike. The moment Jacob appeared, Ren immediately escalated to violence. That tells me he's operating on instinct now, not logic. And instinct-driven criminals are the most likely to trigger catastrophe. What also fascinates me is how the show keeps blurring the line between victim and accomplice. Take Grayson, for example. Is he guilty? Absolutely. But is he also trapped? Clearly. That ambiguity makes the storyline stronger because viewers are forced into uncomfortable territory. You can condemn his actions while still understanding his fear. And that emotional contradiction creates engagement far more effectively than simplistic good versus evil storytelling. The same applies to Derek. Derek's suspicion ultimately puts him directly in danger. If he had ignored Grayson completely, maybe he would have stayed safe. But morally, he couldn't look away. That's important. The show is essentially asking a brutal question. What happens to decent people when they get too close to corruption? Sometimes they become heroes. Sometimes they become casualties. And sometimes they become collateral damage in battles they barely understand. Another thing I genuinely appreciate is that the plasma storyline doesn't feel cartoonishly evil. The danger comes from realism, illegal medical operations, stolen biological materials, hidden networks, fear-based hierarchy. It feels disturbingly plausible. That realism makes every confrontation heavier because viewers subconsciously understand these situations could spiral very quickly in real life too. Now, let's talk about the possibility of gunfire at the gala. If the show goes there, and honestly, it feels like it might, then Monday's episode could become a defining turning point for the entire season. Because once public violence erupts, secrecy dies. No more hidden operations. No more quiet manipulation. No more controlled damage. Everything explodes into the open. And ironically, that may be the one thing Leah has been trying to avoid this entire time. Here's my biggest prediction. The real collapse won't come from Jacob's investigation. It'll come from panic inside the criminal group itself. That's the irony of most criminal organizations in fiction and reality. External pressure matters, but internal fear destroys them faster. Once paranoia spreads, loyalty disappears. Mistakes multiply. People start improvising. We're already seeing it happen. Grayson is unraveling. Ren is escalating. Leah is losing control of the variables. And once a system built on fear starts cracking, everyone becomes dangerous. That's why Monday's episode feels so important. Not because someone might get hurt, but because this may be the exact moment the illusion finally breaks. The gala was supposed to celebrate appearances. Instead, it may expose the monster hiding underneath the entire story. And honestly, that's what Beyond the Gates does best when it's firing on all cylinders. It reminds us that the most terrifying disasters don't happen suddenly. They happen after dozens of tiny compromises until one night nobody can pretend anymore.